Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Matt Johnson. I've got Hank Avink here. We're talking all about how Hank built a six-figure coaching business with basically nothing but Facebook and a phone, which is absolute insanity. Hank is one of my favorite people to talk to, both on camera and behind the scenes. So this is going to be an amazing conversation. So first of all, just to officially welcome everybody, this is a live stream podcast. It's called the UX Podcast. It's a brand new series of interviews that I'm doing with coaches, speakers, and consultants, all about how they built their business, and included going deeper into some of the strategies that are behind their success, going into everything from the marketing side, the business building and business model side, all the way down to just how they drive real behavior change in their clients, especially for coaches. Super, super important. So hopefully we'll have time to cover some of those deeper elements today with Hank, but I want to start off with kind of the marketing strategy. So first of all, Hank, welcome.
So I was trying to share your Facebook Live, and all of a sudden it went live, so it was probably screwing things up. Anyways, Matt, I love you too, man. I have a complete bromance on you, and we're both taken, so I guess it'll never work out. Oh, that's and right. Neither of us are gay, so there you go.
It does present some issues.
Hopefully that sets the tone that, one of the most important things for growing your coaching business is having fun and being you. And turning up the volume. People are either going to be attracted to you or repelled by you, and be okay with that. Yeah. So first lesson of growing your coaching business, don't be neutral.
Well, yeah, and I think, and not to go too far down a bunny trail right off the bat, but I mean, how much is the willingness to reject people creates an attractive force?
Yeah, because I do use some colorful language, and part of it's to show people that there's no hidden agenda. There's no corporate layer with me. I am who I am. Like me, love me, don't like me. There's nothing that I'm trying to manipulate you with. If I can help you, I'm going to help you. If I can't help you, I'll let you know. And I think there's not enough transparency because I think there's so many hidden agendas. There's a chess game going on with so many things. And I look at my business as, hey, we can go play basketball. And if at any time you don't want to play basketball, it's okay. Here's the rules of the game. Go take your ball and play somewhere else. There's no chess game going on.
Yeah. It's very, very straightforward. So, well, give me a breakdown just so people, there's going to be a lot of people watching and listening that kind of know who you are, or maybe that are clients, or they're kind of in your world, but they might not really see the big picture of where you're at right now and kind of what you built and where you're going. But let's just give me a snapshot of kind of where the business is at right now, what you do, and what the structure of it is.
Okay, so it all started with getting to recurring income. And I think coaches sometimes underestimate the power of recurring income. And my wife and I have set our target as far as what our recurring income needs to be. And so what I started with was one-on-one coaching clients. And that was 100% of my focus until we got to our recurring income. And so we're at our recurring income with one-on-one coaching clients. We also do what's called hybrid coaching, which is no more than 12 people on a Zoom call, much like this, where it's coaching. Now, from there, through finding my voice, we created a product called 36 to Life, which is a real estate-based product. And then I also have a product called So You Want to Be a Coach, which basically shows people how I went from a zero database because I had a non-compete that was enforced. And so I didn't really have this strong following. How I went from that to creating a six-figure income, 5-figure a month. In our 13th month, we hit a 6-figure month. So we made over $100,000 with everything we have going on in January. So it took us 13 months to get there. And and there's more to it. We could spend a whole hour just talking about how everything layers in. And the point that I want to make is I want you to ask yourself, is the one thing that you're working on pulling everything else forward? And as long as that one thing that's your main thing is pulling everything else forward, you focus on that, everything else falls in. And if there's anything that you're doing that leaks out, be aware of that.
What do you mean by leaks out?
Well, for example, there were some things that I was doing where when they got into the funnel, there was an opportunity for them to leak out of the funnel where some of the things that I do on the surface, people would be like, well, why are you doing that? Well, it's because it doesn't leak out of the funnel. Where I can do something that maybe is a what's the word I'm looking for, where you get leads yet they're break even.
Right. Okay. Yeah. You maybe lost me for a second. I didn't know there was a term for that. It's called spending too much on marketing.
Well, I want to make sure that my coaches that run with me are successful.
Right.
So I have more leads coming in than what I can handle. So I set other coaches up for exploratory calls, and I don't make any money off of those meaning if they sign them up as a client. Some people might say, well, why do you do that? Well, it feeds the funnel. So if I bring a coach on and I help them get to 5 figures and they're successful, it helps feed my So You Want to Be a Coach. So I don't need to make 20, 30, 40, 50, 60% of the split on the people that they're coaching. Yeah. Because now I can go fill So You Want to Be a Coach because I have a track record of helping coaches get to 5 figures a month. Does that make sense?
Yeah, we found a back end way to profit rather than trying to profit on the front end, which I've heard people say and point that out, that's the difference between like a mom and pop shop, coaching type. We can apply those same principles to coaching as well, but it's the difference between a mom and pop shop and a real business, where you have to make money on every single transaction right up front.
Yep. And so what you got to be aware of is where that doesn't make sense. So if that's not going to go refeed the funnel, meaning you feed this coach the coaching clients, there isn't that trust that they're going to be there for a while or be there to also say, hey, you should sign up for So You Want to Be a Coach. That could mean it leaks out of the funnel and it doesn't make sense all of a sudden not to take a split on that.
Okay.
So I think being very clear on what you're doing and what happens 6, 7, 8 steps down the road needs to be taken into account. And my whole philosophy is help people get what they want, and then it will come back and help you get what you want.
Yeah, love it. Yeah, and that's true. And there's a lot that we could get into there in terms of just what I like about you and the business model that you built is you understand and you've really thought through coaching at the conceptual level as a business model. And so there's so many things that we could get into, but I do want to start a little bit before the snapshot of where you're at now. And you mentioned that you had like a non-compete and zero database and stuff like that. And so one of the things that you've done that's absolutely incredible is, for the most part, you've rebuilt your database using Facebook and then driving people directly from Facebook essentially to a phone call. It's the most drop dead simple, not in a demeaning way, but in a very direct to the point way of getting results. And so kind of take us through a little bit of that process and what that looked like.
Well, and so I decided early on that I was going to be relationship based, not transactionally based, which means that I know that sometimes when you build a business based on relationships, it can be a little bit slower start. And here's the model that I used. My goal is to make 50 connections a day. Now, to me, in my world, what a connection is a high five. So through Facebook, I would go and like somebody's stuff. If they could like my stuff, that counted as a connection because Facebook works off of algorithms, right? And so the more you interact with someone, the more you're relevant in their news feed. So I would go from 50 connections a day to 20 contacts. Now, some of you guys might have your own programming around what a contact is. To me, that's a handshake. It's where Matt puts something out there and I go on there and say, hey, dude, love the new haircut. So it's a handshake, yet we're not having a conversation. So I would go on and do that, and then sometimes a contact would turn into a conversation. Now, if I was on goal, my goal was to have 5 conversations a day, meaning where you and I are now talking about, hey, how's the girlfriend, how's the dog, yada, 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 yada. And I was looking to have one powerful conversation a day where that person would remember that conversation for the rest of their life. Meaning if I could have one conversation a day where that person now remembered that conversation or thought about that conversation for the next 90 days, I knew if I did that for a year straight, I never have to worry about coaching clients again. Now, it was tough because, I'm looking at my P&L for last year in July. When I looked at in July of last year, my total expenses, I'd lost $7,458. Now, that P&Ls can, you can move those around. Yeah. When I look at July of this month, we were a lot better net-wise. So I was looking at my activities, and rather than worrying about any money that was being lost, I knew that my activities would get me where I wanted to be. And I focused on the activities because I knew where it was bringing us.
Interesting.
Does that make sense?
So connections to contacts to conversations, and then within those 5 conversations, and you have a graphic for it. Of course you do.
So, and Matt, I used to have this whole digital download where I would like grab the contacts and everything else. Matt, I'll get this to you. It's called the 6 C's of a database. So I put what I did to do my coaching business, and it works with real estate agents. It works with coaches. And I put this in an easy way of doing it because everybody says, well, what's the best CRM? It's not about the CRM. It's about the process that you do for your database. And so I'll share this with you, Matt, if you're interested. The first thing is you got to make a commitment to stick with it.
Right.
Connect, contact, conversation. From conversation, we form a relation. I didn't like the word convert. That sounded salesy.
Right.
So I'm turning them into a relationship, A, B, C, or D. Matt, you're an A in my world. So when you said, hey, you want to be on a podcast, I didn't ask any questions. I know, like, and trust you, and I know that we have a past where I don't need to ask any questions. So you're an A, you called me up for time. I'm just going to give you time because you're an A in my life.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to be consistent with it. And then it just keeps looping back and forth. And that's what I built it on, was this formula. And then time on task.
Right. So yeah, give us a quick idea of time on task.
I was very purposeful. I wanted to be able to bring my kids to school and pick them up. So my first year in the business, I worked 8:15 when I dropped them off at school until 2:30 when I would go and pick them up. And I stayed there. And it was tough at times because there would have been times for me to go do other things and make some cash. Yet I said, you know what, I'm going to make this work within these hours. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday was about working in the business. Every time I said yes to something during Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, it either had to be working towards $1,000 for that hour time slot or earning $1,000 for that time slot. Now, so every Monday at 9 a.m., for example, if I had a coaching client in there, it had to represent $1,000 for the month. And so that was 27 hours a month that I was working in the business, meaning a week in the business. And then I used Thursday and Friday to work on the business, which I didn't necessarily have to have producing $1,000. I was writing content or taking discovery calls, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay, yeah. So give me an idea of how the goal of 50 connections a day fit in, like on those Monday, Tuesday, Wednesdays when you're working in the business.
Yep. So I don't believe in transactional coaching, so I don't do back-to-back calls. So my typical coaching call will be a half an hour to 45 minutes, and then I have 15 minutes in between to either to recover because I just had a really deep conversation, or just to have a break. So what I would do is in between those, I might do a Facebook Live that would create some interaction. So I'd be having conversations going. I'd have instant messages going. If you look at my Facebook, I mean, there can be 20 to 30 conversations going at any given time. And so I just stir stuff up in between my calls, and then I go back to them. And I let people know I don't do email. Facebook is the number one way to communicate with me. The next one is text message. Yet if you really want me, Facebook me, because that's where I'm paying attention to.
Interesting. So you got it, not that you have it up all day while you're on your coaching calls, but essentially like just throughout the day, you have built in those breaks into your schedule. So like most coaches, I mean, I'm sure you know this, will book like half-hour increments, and they'll book 2 clients an hour, as many as,
And this is okay. So this is the big point, because they're looking at an Excel spreadsheet and they're like, how do I maximize my dollars and how do I do this? Well, here's the reality is there's times where you have a half-hour conversation and needs to go 45 minutes because you're just at that breaking point. And nothing used to piss me off more than when I could tell my coach was trying to figure out how to cut the call down because they had their next call. Yeah. So here's another important part that we're not talking about. My retention's through the roof. Like when I bring in a client, I don't have to worry about them leaving the back door, because they're getting way more value, and we can talk about that at another time, besides my one-on-one calls. So I think where most coaches screw up is they have such a revolving door and their retention rate's not high because they're looking at a transaction as like, I'm going to have a half-hour call and then another half-hour call, another half-hour call. Well, you know what? Guess what? You don't know your clients. My clients, I know. They're real relationships. Like they can call me and I don't have to have my notes in front of me because I almost dropped an F-bomb because I freaking know their business.
Right.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's I know. But very, very quickly, go back and just give me a quick idea. When you say that you're not just delivering that phone call isn't the only value that you're getting from, giving to them. So what do you mean by that, and what's the structure for that?
So here's what I do. I've got the product 36 to Life. It's a 6-week boot camp. So if you're one of my one-on-one coaching clients, you can get that for free. It's like an admin fee just because it makes it easier on our back end of $36.
Okay.
If you want to be part of my hybrid coaching, which is either agents looking to get to 36 transactions or maintaining 36 transactions, they can be part of that 12 for a small admin fee. So now they're getting one-on-one coaching and they're getting hybrid. Now I'm not saying group coaching because there's too much programming around group coaching. Hybrid coaching is a group type setting Yet hybrid is real coaching because there's 12 people and you can actually get to know them. You can coach them. It becomes this little community.
Webinar by a different name.
Yep. Or a lot of my real estate agents that come on end up wanting to also be coaches. So they get to be a part of a hybrid that I have for So You Want to Be a Coach. I do retreats where they can come to those retreats. I have one person that I coach. They're making, $6,000 worth of income off of leads that I've given them. Why the hell would they ever fire me as a coach if they're making $6,000 a month off me? It'd be stupid, right?
Yeah. So you've created like what other people might use for just like a dissension model, like where they just, I have these products. If you're not right for my one-on-one coaching, then, bye and go buy one of my products or get into my group coaching. You kind of put this all into this like ecosystem essentially, so that when they plug into coaching, they're now part of an ecosystem, and the value isn't driven by just the phone call. It's driven by being part of the ecosystem. It's just that phone call is it's the highest level of contact with you.
Well, and so the reality is being in relationship with me, and this may sound egotistical, and I don't mean for it to come off that way. Being in relationship with me makes sense, meaning I have a lot of opportunities swirling around me. I have a lot, and I come from abundance. So if you're in my inner circle, you're going to catch a lot of that opportunity just because I can't do it all. Yeah. And I like to look after people that I care about. I mean, Matt, how many podcast guests have I sent you?
Many, and man, then they're all good,
and they've all been awesome, right? And so the cool thing is I don't expect anything from that, because here's what it does: it helps you, it helps my clients, and so I believe part of what they're hiring me for is that relationship. And yet, if you're doing half-hour calls and all it is a call on your schedule, you don't have that relationship, and you're not thinking, okay, how can I serve this person at a higher level?
Yeah, agreed. Well, and it goes back to, and I was hoping we'd have time for this, and I want to get into it now if we can, which is the driving real behavior change in your coaching clients, which I think is something that a lot of coaches, and I was just talking about this with my good friend of mine earlier, just that there's a lot of people out there, and they want to draw the line between, let's see, either coaching and consulting, or they want to deliver a certain type of coaching where they just want to be responsible for the delivery of the content. They don't want to be responsible for the actual change, the actual implementation in their clients.
That's stupid.
Well, but it's out there. And because they struggle to deliver real, they struggle to really motivate people to actually make real concrete changes, and they get frustrated. Maybe their expectations are off, but they struggle with the fact that people don't immediately implement what they recommend them to do because of stuff that's going on in their own personal lives, right? These are real people. You're in relationships with people, so how do you look at that, and how do you drive real behavior change?
Well, what you've got to be willing to do is care about them more than you care about the relationship. And I'll see where people are, because most of my coaching clients, we don't even talk about their business, because if they've got their personal stuff going on, everything's firing in their personal life, they have a good relationship with their kids, they're getting laid enough, whatever the case may be, whatever drives them or triggers them, if all that's going well, the business part is easy. So now I fire more clients than fire me. If I don't feel that what they're doing is going to get the result that they hired me for, I just let a client go yesterday. I asked them to do things 2 weeks in a row, and they didn't do them. And, for whatever reason, probably legit things, I said, dude, this doesn't work. We're no longer in a relationship. I can't coach you, because if you're not going to do what I'm going to ask you to do, you're not going to get the results that we're looking for. And for whatever reason, it's just not going to work. Yeah. And I think so many people come from scarcity where they're like, oh my gosh, I need that money, or whatever the case may be, because there's been times where I've fired people and I needed that money. Yet at the end of the day, if your clients aren't getting results, it's eventually going to catch up with you. My clients get results. They get what they hired me for, and then some. Yeah. So here's what I believe that you got to be able to do, Matt, is take your thumb and press on the pain and make the pain of not doing something greater than the pain of doing it.
Interesting.
So what I do is, if something's important, I turn up the volume. For example, I've got someone right now, if they don't do what they've got to do in the next 30 days, I'm charging their credit card $6,000.
Goodness.
Yeah, because you know what, they don't know their numbers. And here's the thing is, most of my coaching clients, they can't out earn stupid. They make a lot of money, yet they haven't known their numbers because they're too busy or whatever the case may be. Right. So in order to coach with me, you've got to have a P&L. Now, it might not be in 30 days. We might be looking 60, 90, 120 days out because it may take time to write that ship. Yet if you're going to coach me, you're going to know your numbers. You're going to be a freaking adult. You're going to be a business owner. You're going to know reality.
Okay.
People don't always like that.
Okay, so you put your thumb on the pain.
Yep.
So you found a way, in that specific instance, you found a way to essentially motivate them by now. This is a pre-agreed thing, or are you just going to see if they know your numbers by charging their credit card and then see if they notice?
Well, great point. I like that.
I know. I was going to say it'd be fun to do that. I mean, obviously you wouldn't keep the money, but just to demonstrate a point.
No, I would keep the money.
Fuck you would keep them.
I would keep the money because you know what? By them not knowing their numbers, it's costing them a ton of money.
Yeah.
And the reality is, we walk through the formula of, if in the next 5 years you keep being stupid about your finances, how much wealth is that going to cost you? So, I want the pain to be turned up right now, and I would keep that money, and I'd let them know what I'm doing with their $6,000, and it would be something stupid and frivolous, and I'd be like, hey, dude, thanks for the $6,000. I would not feel guilty about that at all.
Oh, that's awesome. But it goes back to the overall point, which is caring about them more than you care about the coaching relationship, which I think that's something that coaches absolutely, and definitely consultants when they're on bigger contracts, absolutely struggle with. Very hard to keep that in mind.
Well, and that's why I don't want business partners, because, outside of my wife, I can make a decision right there and then. Right. So on my 36 to life, I really wanted people to get in consistency because I think people undervalue what consistency does. And I said, if you guys do 14 cards, meaning I'm a big believer in send out cards, one of my streams of revenue. So if you're interested in send out cards, reach out to Gail Zentek. She'll set you up. Sorry for the plug there. Oh, by the way, this podcast is sponsored by Rockstar.
I'm pretty sure everything in real estate is fueled and funded by Rockstar Energy.
Right. Yeah. I will get them as a sponsor, by the way.
Yeah, exactly.
And so, Squirrel, go back to consistency. I'm on a call, and I really want them to be consistent with sending out one card a day. Because, when you look at the cards that can be sent out, one of my friends sent me this. This card right here is still in front of me, and she sent it to me a while ago. So if you send one of those out a day, it's going to make an impact on your relationships. So I said, if you do 14 cards in a row, you can go through 36 to life the next time for $6. Now, I'm not going to make any money. I'll actually lose money because of the back end that needs to be done. However, I can make that decision without having to ask anybody because it makes sense. And I want my people to actually get results.
Right. Yeah. Makes sense. All right, so let's turn back, and we're just in the last few minutes that we have left, just to the marketing side of things. So now that things are kind of operational, you've got 3 different levels. You've got all this stuff going on. I know your wife is helping you just with Backend, I think, on the administrative side. But give us an idea of how you maintain the marketing that keeps on generating new leads, even though now you're essentially at capacity. I've seen your calendar with one-on-one coaching calls and stuff like that. You're at capacity.
Yeah, and it's interesting because it fluctuates because I've given so many of my other coaches opportunities. It's watching that. So I believe in simplicity. Mm-hmm. And so I've done Facebook ads. I've spent, I would bet over $10,000 this year with Facebook ads, and I brought a lot of deals in, yet it was transactional. And so let me revert back here. Here's what I like in my coaching business to keep it simple. Keep all of your billing so it's on the first of the month. Okay. And there's a lot of power behind this, and I could go into a full half-hour spiel on why we do that. So I run through everything through QuickBooks. I run everything through QuickBooks because you can do recurring income, and you can see where your relationships are at, and you can look at your schedule and hold your schedule accountable. This morning I was going over my schedule with my wife, planning for next month. Hey, here's where our gaps are. Should we put a one-on-one client in here? Should we do another hybrid? Should we use that time for doing content? It's really planning out and being strategic on what you're saying yes to and what you're saying no to, and really understanding, are you looking short-term income or are you looking long-term income? Mm-hmm. I didn't answer your question at all.
No, but you're deciding between, taking another revenue stream, which would be a coaching client or a hybrid group, and then the content. You mentioned that you've spent a lot with Facebook ads and it's brought in deals, but it's been transactional. So has that informed your decision making at all in terms of where you're putting your marketing effort to keep the leads flowing in?
Yeah, so it goes back to social media has given us a brilliant platform, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm very consistent with my message, and you'll see that I have an orange hat on. So that's part of my branding is I wear a hat backwards because most coaches aren't like me as far as just easygoing. You'll see that I'm a family man. So I'm very consistent about, posting things about my kids, also posting the fact that, yes, everything looks perfect, yet we also work hard on it. Meaning we go to family counseling every week to make sure that it's there. So I'm bringing in the human aspect that I'm not trying to show you something that we're perfect. We're obtainable, meaning you can do what I want to do or what I've done. I tell my story on a regular basis, where I was 5 years ago, what's going on in my coaching world, that I'm excited about eXp Realty. And if you are a real estate agent, you should talk to me about eXp Realty and why it is one of my big buckets as far as income goes. And so, I'm consistent on telling my story. And there's a great book called Invisible Selling Machine by Ryan Dicey's. You should read that book. I read that book, and I've been basically building my principle of social currency on that model, and that's all I'm doing, being human.
Interesting. I like it. And just real quick, what's your overall philosophy on keeping things simple while still having multiple revenue streams? Because that trips up a lot of people.
Yep. And so I always go back to my one thing. My one thing is coaching, meaning I won't do anything or participate in anything else that screws up my one thing, which is coaching. So when it comes to anything else, I ask myself, if I do this, how does it harm my one thing? So EXP is another revenue stream for me. A few months back, I was worried that, and when I say a few months back, I wasn't convinced that it wouldn't mess up my coaching because I thought that people may be concerned that, hey, if I'm coaching with Hank, he's going to shove EXP down my throat. No, I don't care which brokerage you're at. I mean, if you're at Keller Williams and it's the right fit for you, you should stay there. However, with that said, my revenue share is going to surpass my coaching income, I believe, in the next 6 months.
Holy cow.
Yeah. All right, I'll just spill the beans. So my feeling is if I can coach people to do their one thing, which is real estate, and I can coach them for essentially an administrative fee of $36, and they enter my revenue share model, I get paid off of revenue share on them. I also get when, they close their first deal, and there's other things where I get stock. I mean, when I look at that and I can help people do their one thing, which is real estate, my revenue share income will more than replace my coaching income very quickly.
Yeah, and that's one of the holy grails of a coaching business is to be able to capture a percentage of the results that you help people achieve rather than a flat fee, because you can always capture more on a percentage basis, especially when it's taken out of their, in this case, it's taken out essentially out of their commission at the broker level. So yeah, rather than them cutting a check to you every month.
Well, and here's the coolest thing. So, and we're going to go down this money trail real quick if you're okay.
Yeah.
The thing that's broken with the team real estate model is you bring them in, you coach them, you train them, and if they're any good, they're going to say at some point, why am I paying you?
Right.
And what I'm doing is I'm basically bringing them in and I'm coaching them, I'm training them, and if all of a sudden they don't want to be with me, I do whatever I can to help them be successful and go off on their own, yet I'm still getting paid via revenue share. So I'm still benefiting from all the work that I put into them, even after they leave me and they're no longer within my ecosystem, so to speak. And the more successful they are, the more it continues to fill my revenue share. So it fixes the blind spot of, how do I keep people? I don't have to keep people. If you've got a better opportunity, go do it. I still benefit. I mean, it's kind of like it fills that void of, the scarcity where I want people to come in and then go fly away. Even with my coaches, I had a coach the other day. Within 90 days, I got her way up over 5 figures a month. She decided to jump ship. You know what? What a testament to me that in 90 days, she outgrew my coaching and went off to go do her own thing. to me, that's a win. I'd rather have my coaching clients experience their success in 90 days than 12 months.
Right. Yeah. Yep. Makes sense. And the interesting thing about EXP, and I wish that was replicatable in other industries, because for you to be able to build a coaching business where they don't have to stay within your ecosystem to keep making money off of them. So it's worth it for you to really invest, not just in the temporary relationship. It's worth it for you to invest in their lives and the long-term relationship, which I think for most coaches and consultants is really what we want. Yep. I think most people would rather have a relationship-based than a transactional-based business, but there's so much stuff, especially when you pay attention to digital marketing, you fall in love with transactional marketing, right? Yep. Which then has all these spillover effects into your business. And I think most people would rather have a very simple relationship-based business, as long as their income isn't limited by, well, I can only take 40 coaching clients, or I can only have 10 consulting clients.
And that's where coaches need to be careful. Matt, you saw a while there where my schedule was it was booked 2-3 weeks out. Mm-hmm. It was like, oh my gosh, I got a job. Yeah, I'm making great money, yet it's a job.
Yeah.
And so I started looking at how can I do this and help everybody around me benefit and keep my recurring income and start building my wealth at a higher level.
Yeah.
And so far it's working pretty well.
Yeah, I'd say so. All right, so you've thrown out some teasers. We talked about EXP and stuff like that. But how do people directly connect with you?
Facebook Messenger, meaning Facebook Messenger me. I used to have these funnels, yet I just found a teaser. Stalk me a little bit. Here's if you're watching this in September, I'm doing So You Want to Be a Coach, and it's going to be $3,000. There's going to be 12 people, and we got 2 spots left. Not only are you paying $3,000 for that 2.5 days, you're paying $3,000 to be in that relationship, in that conversation with those 12 people who are movers and shakers and all the other opportunities that come around it. Now, we're going to have another one in November, which is November 3rd for 2.5 days, and you do it right here at my home for $3,000. It's a no-brainer with I'm going to give you all the secrets and really dive into what I did to get where I'm at. And I hold nothing back. Matt, that's one thing I think we've appreciated about each other. Have I ever held anything back from you?
Not that I know of. No, you've been one of the most open people ever about your entire business. I mean, you've literally pulled up and showed me everything, the back end of Kajabi, your calendar, your coaching. Yeah, I mean, just the whole organization, like everything. Yeah. And vice versa. I mean, that's what's cool about being in relationship with the right people. And I'm the same way with you. I mean, you're in my inner circle. So anytime you need something, I don't question it. Whatever you need, you have it, because we built up that level of trust. And I think most of us, the coaches, speakers, consultants, authors, whatever, we want to have that. We're just not as intentional as you as building it in the process of that, and really making sure that we have the right relationships in that inner circle.
Well, and I look at this, it's not like you and I met yesterday. And so many people want to say, what can I get out of this relationship right now? Yeah, when I find somebody like you, it's like, how do I just keep digging this well? And at some point, we may work closer together. Yet until then, what can I do to just help you?
Yeah.
And at some point, what will happen is that trust comes in. I just had someone reach out to me that I've been in a relationship with for probably 15 years. And we just now have figured out a way that we can, this person makes me look like a chump on what I've done.
Okay.
Like, honestly, what he's done compared to what I've done, I mean, it's incredible. And he's joining me, and now we're finally going to work together after 15 years. And Matt, this thing's going to blow up. It makes me just kind of laugh on, yeah.
And most people can't play the long game.
No, they can't, because, I almost said they blow their wad. Can I say that on here? Sorry.
Yeah. They do, though. Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So, yeah, if you need anything, Facebook message me. I treat my A's like A's, my B's like B's, and my C's and D's I get to you when I can, because I really focus on my relationships. And so if you do reach out to me, do give me a little bit of time to reach back.
Love it. All right. Yeah. That is it. Hank, I appreciate it. Thank you so much for being on this kind of live interview with me. That was awesome. I love that you pretty much pull back the curtain and share anything, because I mean, I think people get a ton of value out of this. So I mean, I'm going to go back and listen to it and re-listen to it myself, because there's a lot of things that I'd like to implement just on my side and how I grow my business. So this is stuff that applies to digital agencies, sales careers. I mean, these are just universal principles. They're just extremely well applied in your coaching business, which I love that. So
cool. Love you, man.
All right. We'll talk soon.
See ya.